Hi, I'm Matt from hockeyreviews.ca, and this is the Warrior G7 snapshot review. So obviously these are brand new. This is kind of an unboxing, but at the same time, we're going to compare this pad to the G6, which was obviously right here. I haven't got a chance to use these yet, so it can't be a full review. I haven't been able to test it and stuff, but we're going to get this out here to kind of show you the differences between these two, because there are a lot of differences, especially on the pads, between the G7 and the G6. So we're also going to have videos on the blocker and compare it to the G6 blocker. I have a 6.1 blocker. This is a 7 blocker, but we'll also have the 5 to kind of show that there is differences and they've kind of grown and changed a bunch through them. And we're going to compare this, which is the 7.1, to the 6.1 as well. Those will all be in separate videos since I know how long these will go, and we'll kind of go into a lot of detail here. So the other thing about this video, or I should say a little tease, at the end of the video I'm going to have an announcement, so make sure you check that out. And we're going to do something with a set of gear I have. So first of all, before we go into this anymore, huge thanks to the person who helped me grab this set. I greatly appreciate it. They helped me with this set as well, and it helps me do these reviews and everything. So huge thanks to that person, and you know who you are, you're probably watching this, so again, greatly appreciate it. So first of all, for the colors on this set, this will be based on something very specific. If you saw the teaser on Instagram, you will kind of know what it is, and if you figure out by the name bar, you'll know what it is. But I have a jersey coming that will end up working with these pads pretty nicely, and I think it's pretty unique and kind of cool. I want to say one thing about this graphic. I think this is the best graphic Warrior has done in a while. I really like how this piece actually kind of formed in here, and how you can kind of work these pieces together to make different layers of graphic on here, where previously it was very much one piece across. As you can see, at least with this one, it was divided and these pieces were divided, so you could really split it up, or these ones that had to be like straight lines. I like how this was done that way, but my one criticism of this still, and this is still a thing with Warrior, I really wish down here was something different. I wanted this to be broken up in some way, if it came over here or something, just so you could add more color down here so it wouldn't all be one color. Originally I wanted navy to be down here, but I have so many dark pads at the bottom of like here, and I just like, you know, I have to do white down here, but this normally would have been down there. But I do like the overall graphic. I still think it's too simple down here, and I know it makes it a lot easier for Warrior for cutting and for sewing and everything to do kind of these so they don't all intersect and overlap, crazy stuff like that. But I would have liked to see a little bit more intricate, but at the same time, it's, I think, the best graphic Warrior has done in a long time, so I have to give him props for that. I also love how this section over here, as you can see, we're always lining up with the outside. They kind of did that here as well, but it really works with these, because if you wanted this to be navy, it would have lined up. Same with this, baby blue could have been there. I obviously did opposite colors to get some more color on the side instead of just bending it over, but I did like how that was an option. So for specs on these pads, I spec'd them out to be pretty similar. I screwed up one part on this, and I had an external break on here, which I didn't actually mean to do. I forgot to change that on the customizer, so I kind of screwed that up. So these should have been slightly stiffer than what they are, but they're still pretty stiff. These have gotten even stiffer, and I was pleasantly surprised by that. I talked to people at Warrior. I saw them in December, and I talked to them about this gear, saw it and everything. I was really impressed by it, and I was really excited to get these because of what I saw at their offices in Michigan. But this is going to be a bit stiffer, which I'll show off in a second, but I do like a bunch of the changes on here. For sizing and everything, both of these are 36+1, and the boot seems like it's slightly different. I haven't put them on my skate yet, and we'll do a full sizing thing when I get through the review and everything. But you can see how they kind of line up slightly close, but the boot is slightly different because they do have that new option where it's a fuse boot, or it's a more solid boot and not as open, which I'll show off in a second. But that boot does feel like it kind of changes the shape overall, but everything on here looks pretty similar in terms of size. Again, 36+1, same I wore on that. All right, so for stiffness and everything, we will take a look at these ones first so you can really see the boot. The boot doesn't flex a whole lot in that direction, but it does a little bit. And then the thigh rise on these, you can see, is definitely getting softer, and you can definitely feel the internals of it flexing like this. When I had them, they were stiffer. Obviously, after that puck machine and after a bunch of usage, this gets softer over time, so you can see that in there. Now with these pads, you can see the boot. It does feel like it's a little bit stiffer. At least it feels like that to me. And for stiffness, as you can see, that's me all the way down. They're very stiff. The thighs on these and everything here is extremely stiff. And when I did this, the top part was folding. With this, it is stiffer. So I think they beefed up that piece as well. And it's not just the lower break down here being not on external. I'm pretty sure when I talked to them, they did beef this up because I talked about how stiff they were. And the pads that they had on demo, I don't think were this stiff. I think this is the stiffest option. The pads that they had were just the normal one, and these ones are definitely stiffer than that. So I was a huge fan of them going a bit stiffer on here, and as you can see, the results are really impressive where this doesn't bend at all. Right now, again, this will break in a bit, so it will start flexing a little bit. It's just how pads work. Pucks hit this, people hit it, and it just bends, and the materials inside just break down a bit, and they can flex. But as it is right now, this is extremely stiff, and I'm a very big fan of that. I've had people ask me over and over again of what socks I always recommend, and I've been using Cutshield for a while now. I have multiple stuff from them. So Cutshield is a company out of Canada that makes cut resistant socks, and these are their Pro Air 6, which means it's an ANSI level 6 for cut resistance on here. Full review of it up there so you can check it out. But I now have a coupon code with Cutshield, so if you want to support the channel, you can check out the link in the description to Cutshield, buy some socks, which I think are honestly one of the better socks on the market. I absolutely love them. They're pretty thin and they are cut resistant and they're not too hot either. Use my coupon code, you get 25% off and it helps support the channel. So starting with the face of this pad, pretty much identical to the previous one in terms of binding and how it is overall designed. Obviously no rolls anywhere, and there is no binding on the face that is visible. The binding kind of comes through right here. So you can see that cord going through it, and it is hidden next to this outer roll in here. They did that in the past as well to get that cover. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but I think it's that cover edge right here, so that face kind of pops out a bit more. The face itself feels like it's basically the same as what was on the previous one. You can kind of see that edge and that face kind of extra foam being on the outside there, and it thins out towards the top and a little bit on the boot itself. But again, nothing crazy on here. It's not really where the changes came on here. It does continue to have the interesting texture design on parts of the Gen Pro, which gives it a bit more of an interesting and unique look, where the previous one was this kind of interesting other pattern. Kind of the same idea, just on a different spot and a different shape. Now I'm going to turn this sideways to show off a bunch of the changes on this side, just because it's hard to get the whole pads in the video. So you still have that block right here, the plastic block added on here for extra sliding. Like I mentioned on this review, this piece makes these things slide so good. Basically the second best sliding pad on the market, if not the best. It's very close with them and Vaughn. They changed this block as well, so this comes out more than this one does. You can kind of see it when you look right here, how it kind of just sticks out slightly more. I'm sure with force coming down on here, this part is going to kind of flatten out when you actually slide, so this isn't going to be the leading piece everywhere, because you can see on this one, even though that this was kind of sticking out a bit, all the wear is kind of on here for sliding, which makes sense. Going down a bit here, you can see one of my favorite changes. Gone are all of the air glide grooves. I've been calling for this for generations now and saying that this isn't what is causing any sliding increases, and Warrior has talked about how they tried to measure how pads slide and what makes them better and stuff. This on here, which is this hard foam, and this block is going to make a bigger difference and a difference compared to this, which originally this was for surface area, which Warrior changed the marketing on it. I'm happy these are gone. These do not need to be there. They didn't do anything. They used to go through the knee block as well. It's all just as kind of traditional and standard design on here, and it's how it should be. I'm really happy with this. So going on to this plate right here, the calf plate, just like on the G6, it is regressed. So you can see how this piece kind of sat back from the tip. Same as here. It does have that gap right there, but it sits more flush. So you can see there's less of a gap. Now, maybe when you wear this more, it might push back a little bit, but this one was definitely on purpose to kind of sit back more. But this being a lot flatter will give you more stability on the calf, because you can see how this really kind of folded into the calf a bit, and it is pulled down by this piece. This can still be pulled down by there. We'll go through the strapping, but it does sit flatter on that outer edge, which is nicer to give you more stability. This gap right here is what is needed to be legal in the AHL and the NHL, and that was the first time we saw it right here to make that legal as well. So that's kind of cool. This is NHL legal. It doesn't mean these are coming into the NHL, but that is kind of a move to make them NHL legal. We'll talk about the wings, which you can see right here in a second, but same overall design for sliding. These are two different options, so we'll talk about that when we talk about the wings. But you have Gen Pro binding covered up on here, so all the wear and stuff, this will never be nylon touching. The only nylon will be the threads on here, which are kind of wearing off, but this design is totally solid. And if this does touch the ice, which it probably will, it's just Gen Pro, so it's what you want touching the ice and not something that is nylon. So going on the outer edge, you can see right here, very similar at the top in everything. It feels like this one is almost a little bit more curved. And I'm not sure if that is or if it's just like things are being pulled a bit tighter. We'll have to see when I play on it. But the whole thing just looks like it's slightly more curved on the G7 versus the G6. And when we slide down here, you can see some interesting changes that I am a big fan of. One, this is all nylon. As you can see all through here, this is just baby blue nylon, where this in the past was Gen Pro. Now, I don't mind Gen Pro being on here. It's going to be more durable. It's also technically probably more expensive, and it's more work to kind of do stuff like this, but it is heavier. And I'm kind of at the point where companies don't really need to put Gen Pro down the side. Brian does this and it looks fantastic for aesthetics reasons, but when you do that, you're just adding weight and you don't really need to. So them going to nylon here, I'm a huge fan of, and it kind of lines up with how most companies are doing that now. Honestly, if you can save weight by doing that, why not? Going down here, these kind of look similar, but to me, this one feels like it's a little bit slimmer than what is on the G6. But honestly, when you look at them right next to each other, they look very, very similar all the way through. And I think it's just the fact that this nylon piece right here from the backing kind of folds over a bit is giving me a bit of an illusion of this being slimmer. I'm pretty sure they're probably very similar all throughout. And when we get to the outer boot, kind of exact same idea throughout the whole thing. Feels very similar to each other, but you do see that gap right here as well, where it does adjust that boot flex, which we'll talk about in 1 second. The big change on here in design is the boot. I ordered the more, I think it's a fuse design, which doesn't allow it to flex both ways. So you can see how coming back, it doesn't flex at all, and it just stays a little bit flexing in the other direction. It doesn't move a lot. Where this one, because it had that gap here, you can see right here, there's nothing in there. You could really flex the boot backwards like this. So you can't do that on this pad. It stays totally straight. Now, some people like that, being able to move their toe a bit. It was fine on this. I only ordered this like this to try the other option. So personally, I had no issues with this whatsoever. Really, really liked using this pad, but I wanted to try the option. Same thing with this piece right here. I just wanted to try the other option and to see how this interacts with the Connect, because if you saw Warrior's video on their calf options, they basically call out straight up buckles on goalie pads getting caught with this stuff. And that is a shorter thing right here, so that will affect that as well. Now, getting on to the boot itself, you have a very similar idea and design on here, and this wing just covers up a lot. Still have the same two attachment pieces down here, which is right here, but you can see how that outer wing is so much shorter. Again, we'll cover the wings in a second. We'll just stick down below on the actual pad down here. You still have that kind of riser boot piece right here, which really isn't a riser. It's just how pads are made. They just, instead of putting a piece all the way across like everyone else does, it's just separate from the outside, but really it's the same idea. It's just outside looks a bit different on it, and it feels the exact same as the other one, just maybe a slightly different gray nylon on there, but really the same. And we get on the toe tie situation, which is also the same. So I left this piece on the whole time, this outer kind of toe bridge right here, just because it had no issues with it. I took it off this one since I'm not going to use it, and I like this one enough. This is what that toe bridge is, and it just goes through these pieces right here and sits on there kind of like this. And we'll grab the other one right here to show it off. That's how it sits in there. And to undo it, there are two pieces on this. So this piece right here, you undo this part and it stops being pulled inward. So you can see how it kind of sits in like that. You undo that and it comes out like a normal toe bridge. And then you pull that out so you can put your bungee through there if you want, or your skate lace through there if you want. And it just acts like a totally normal toe bridge. Now, the thing I changed on this already was the strap adjustment for this. So I went to the loosest setting on this, and how you change that is the same way it was done before. I have a video of it, which you can kind of see up there, where I talk about adjusting the toe bridge and the boot strap and toe ties. What you do is you pull out this piece right here and you just adjust these snaps. So this snap has a bunch of different spots it can go in to be tighter or looser, and then you just pull it through so it gets hidden behind this Gen Pro piece. As if I can get it in there, they're all the way. You kind of have to pull this, and there it is. So then it's just hidden below that Gen Pro piece. And if you want it out, simply, I grab pliers because it's easier, but you can go in here, pull it out, and that way you adjust it, and that is how it sits. Both of these pads did come with boot straps. Here is the boot straps that I took off of this one. It would go from here to here. Same idea of how that toe tie works. This side snaps in to down there, and then this piece loops through this hole. So you undo this plastic piece right here, loop it through there, and then you adjust the length by attaching it through these different parts right here. I love this idea and the design behind it. You have a kind of stretchy piece right here. And these are the exact same pieces which are used on the toe tie. So if your toe tie stretches out and you don't use bootstraps, you can then use your bootstraps as toe tie replacements. Fantastic idea by Warrior. I absolutely love that, and I'm a huge fan that this is a thing. The one thing I miss is Warrior used to include a non-elastic kind of pad carry strap, which was basically two ends of these straps, and it was just nylon, but it wasn't stretchy. I miss that a lot. I have it for my G5s. I still use it to carry these. I will use it to carry these in the future. So I really wish that was still a thing that offered. Yes, you can just attach these together, and like you could just put them here, put that piece through it, and then, oh look, you have two attachment pieces, but these are stretchy, and these are replacement parts. So yes, you could do it, but I would rather have that non-stretch nylon, and so I have that replacement part still available, as well as having that carrying strap on there as well. But that's a nitpick and not that big of a deal. So since this part is very obvious, we're going to talk about the wings on here, leg channel, and then we'll get into strapping slightly after. As you can see, this wing has been completely revamped. This used to be a Gen Pro piece, as you can see, with some kind of cuts through it so it can fold, but it didn't fold all that much, and a foam behind it. Now it is just, there's foams in it, but it's a lot softer to the touch, and it is a lot more segmented, so it folds a lot better, and it is all nylon. So that is going to be lighter weight. Also makes it, not the nylon part, but the foams in here allow this part to flex a lot more. So if you really crank this tight around your leg, it's going to flex around your leg a lot more, which is a nice thing. And the inside is a slightly better material. It is just a Gen Pro on here versus this foam material, but you could see this is from my Connect skates getting caught on here. You can see kind of the damage on there, and it's not really damage, it's just like dents and stuff like that. But this whole calf wrap, I ordered the short one, is obviously that's not going to have any issues with Connect skates or skate really interference. So that's going to be a lot better for that, and it's on both too. So both sides are shorter, as you can see when you line these up. Look at the difference in those overall wings. This inside wing is more of a similar design to each other, where you have two pieces right here to adjust it, and it is segmented, so it will wrap a little bit at the top, and it does have that exposed material back here, that foam, but then Gen Pro down here, same as the old one, but you can really see the difference on here just because there's this pillow, which we'll talk about in a second. But overall, same idea with these, just a lot shorter when I ordered the shorter option, just to show off those differences. And when we go to this wing on here too, this wing is attached. There's a clip down here, just like that toe tie was, where this can be pulled out so it can be tighter, and you have all these little marks here are where that clip goes through, so you can adjust the length of this. I went to the loosest setting because I like my pads loose, but that is the option there, and you have these different spots in here as well. So if you want to make this tight, slide it through there. You have a much tighter leg channel, not more narrow because this stays basically the same, but that strap is going to come through and be a lot tighter than versus what I'm doing, which is all the way outside like this. But very similar in idea to what this one was. This one was a bit more complicated because it had two straps right here on elastics, which you couldn't actually change the length on. So you really couldn't adjust this one all that much in that sense, but you still had these holes right here, which you go in and then go over and wrap around. I liked this design because it had this silver shield on it, and it was really nice to the touch. I love this material. I think it should be like basically the liner material on here. It's so good. But Warrior doesn't really use it anymore on their goalie stuff, and it's totally gone in here, which is kind of sad to me. I wish this material somewhere here was used for that silver shield because it is a great material, but it is totally gone. But that is how that wing works. Kind of a similar idea, but different at the same time. I think this one allows for a lot more adjustability and is really solid in that sense. This wing also, it feels like it's made of the same construction as what this one was, so it is kind of softer and will kind of fold over a bit, but you can see how it is, I mentioned previously, more along the line. So there is that gap right there for the legality thing, but it does come further out here. So with this pillow, it's going to kind of make a more flush piece right here. So stability on here should be a bit better than what it was on this one. And you can see with this, once that's kind of done up, it kind of folds in a bit, and you do have that gap, but it does fold in. And even with your leg kind of pushing down, like my hand is kind of pushing right now, it still doesn't kind of flatten out all the way, and it kind of folds over on itself. We get onto the inner channel as well, and they have their piece right here. So Warrior, I can't remember what they called this, but basically they say this piece sticks out, and you can see it kind of right in here, how this gets wider. And they say it's for better rebounds because your leg sits closer to the pad and then it won't give. So if a puck hits it, it won't give because it's sitting on your leg, and it will just push the rebounds out further. Now, when I use this pad, which had that same idea and design to it right here. I didn't notice a difference on rebounds because I always found when I went down with this pad, I would still have a gap about that. So when you actually go down, your leg never actually hits right here. At least mine never did. My knee would kind of hit up here. My leg would come out here. My skate would sit like right here on the boot. So there'd be a gap of about that on my leg. So really, I never really noticed this making a huge difference for rebounds or anything like that. But it is a nice padded piece, and it does kind of pull the leg channel out a little bit, so it'll sit on your leg slightly different. I think it's a fine design. I just don't know if it really does that whole rebounding piece that they talk about. I haven't noticed that personally. Core Tech, which are core shorts, and people have heard of these before. They were labeled under Under Armour before. Now Bauer sells hockey specific one, but Core themselves sell their own line of pants and supportive clothing and apparel. Basically, this stuff helps you with growing strains, growing pulls, and helps keep your hips tight and everything like that. And speaking of injuries, I kind of pulled a growing playing in the playoffs a few months ago and have had to keep using these Core Tech shorts to make sure my growing doesn't get worse. When I don't wear them, I can feel it and it hurts kind of to walk the next day. With these, keeps everything nice and tight and keeps everything from stretching out too far and getting injured. So these have been a huge savior for me. Check out the link in the description to their website and use my coupon code that's in there to get a discount, and I'll put it on the screen here. It helps support myself and the channel so I can make content and doing real reviews, but also you get a solid product that I use all the time. The other part on this was a lot wider leg channel when you look at it right now because of this fantastic pillow. I love calf pillows. I talk about them all the time. I always recommend companies do them. It's basically a cheat code to get the bottom part of the pad down more to cover ice and to get like kind of squeeze pucks between it. This is removable, and it is honestly a little softer than I wish it was. I wish it was a bit more dense, just because I feel like when my leg is going to go on this, it's going to kind of compress it a decent amount, and I would like this in maximum cheating. So I wish this was even a little bit bigger if it was this soft, so that way when it would compress, it would still be bigger overall. But this is an absolute fantastic design, and because it's Velcroable and you can move it up and down, so if your knee block gets in the way, up here, if you have big knee pads, you can move it down so it's down here, and then your knee block won't get in the way there, and it'll help with your ankle as well. I love this as well because this ankle piece, if you're having issues with some skates like I have with ankle issues, where if the pad doesn't have this piece coming all the way down to kind of rest your leg on, and your leg just kind of drops off and it kind of digs into your ankles uncomfortable, this is going to support your leg more so you get more comfort out of that. So I'm a huge fan that this is a thing. I absolutely love it. When I saw these pads back in December, I saw this and I just looked over at people at Warrior and I'm like, yes, thank you. I love this, because this really was one of the things I think a lot of companies can improve on, is just basically adding calf pillows. It's more comfortable, it's kind of cheating, and when they're removable like this, you can adjust them any way you want, and or just take them out totally so you have that bigger overall leg channel if you want that loose fit, and you can put them in if you want that tight fit. So it's basically the best of both worlds, and it's an absolutely fantastic piece to add, and I'm a huge fan of it. Now going on to this inner piece, which I also think is a very solid improvement, and that is this inner wrap right here. So overall, the wrap itself is very similar to each other, if not identical. Previously, it only had one spot to come out of here. Now you could just put it on the outside as well, but it only had one slot to come out of, but it was adjustable the same way. So there was a snap down here, and you adjust it through these different levels right here, and then you pull it through, and then you get a tighter or looser fitting piece right here. But then it would come to this piece on the inside, and I found this piece to just kind of be annoying. It works. It's kind of like a cheater professor strap thing, but I always just found this to be awkward, and I really wanted to do this, but this piece would sometimes get in the way and get caught under my knee pads. So I would always end up doing this, but extremely loose setting, and I really wish this was just removable. What Warrior did on here I think is pretty great, where they made this adjustable, as you can see. So same piece as before, but now there are two spots for it, so you can do it tighter or looser going through there, and then it now just goes to the outer wing. And with that outer wing, you can see a slight difference here too, because this one was way more out on the side because it wasn't used for that inner piece, where this one now sits right up against that leg channel. So previously, you could see there's kind of that gap right here. This piece is basically now just all of this. So you do have that a bit tighter if you want it to, or if you want to do like what I do, which I'm going to do, run this pretty loose, it's fine, totally right there, or you could take it off right there, but it acts as a whole wrap, so this piece won't kind of get in the way. Now, you can also just add professor straps if you really want through the bindings here. There's a bunch of companies that you could kind of figure out a way to work with that. This will kind of do the same thing, an idea with it. If you really want to tighten it, you can really adjust this all the way down and then really crank this so it is very tight like a professor strap. It's totally up to you. I like it loose. I'm a huge fan. This is more adjustable than what it was before. Finally, we get to the outer wing, which Overall, same idea and design, just this piece is now made to work with this as well. So you can see how this has both backing on it, where this one was just nylon back here. So if you went like this, you couldn't cover it over like that. With this one, you can cover it over, and Warrior says this piece right here is done so it can kind of fold over, and you can see how it has that overlap right there. There's no more buckles on here, and which I am a total fan of because I never use these buckles anyways. They would basically be down here as well. It would just lock in place. I did it when I went to here just because the buckle was there, but really I don't need that, and this elastic is enough and good enough. I will say, while I don't like these buckles, I kind of am saddened that it's gone. Now, this piece doesn't have a little slot through it like this one did, and you can't add that yourself. If you want to sew your own nylon buckle here, you could. But this whole idea is kind of gone. And we have seen some companies like True go the whole nylon route with pads and then also take it away in the newest ones. But people like this nylon option. So I kind of wish this was still a thing through here, just so it's an option so you can take it out or leave it as is. I don't like them, but I know people do, and totally getting rid of it is kind of a little disappointing in that sense. Now with this buck strap, I really wish Warrior did this on stuff, and they don't. It almost looks like it. But this piece right here, I understand Warrior saying you put it over there and you can fold it down so it also attaches to this piece as well. I've always found with Velcro stuff right at the end, it really eats up your fingers, especially when you're pulling it all the time. I wish this was just Gen Pro at the end, so it was a tab that you could pull up and yank out. But it isn't. It's a huge nitpick, but it's just something I wish was there, but not a big deal. Going on to that knee block, again, you have this piece right here, which is the exact same. And we do have some changes on this piece as well. So obviously one strap here is just a more traditional strap versus what this one is, which is slightly disappointing just because of that customization like I mentioned. But we're gonna open these up and I'll show you what is on the inside of these. All right, so after taking all that Velcro off, same plate. I'm pretty sure these look absolutely identical between the two. I'm not sure if anything has changed on here. They work totally fine. I really like them. We're gonna get rid of that for a second. A lot of Velcro. We kind of know that. This one, same thing as this is. It's basically that inner piece that Velcros all the way around. It is identical to itself. This one also connected a very similar way. This one was just wider at the base, so it took up more spot right here, where this one is just a little tiny piece like this. So nothing changing on here. It's pretty similar to itself. This one comes off and you can see it. There's these little binding cords right here. This goes onto this side right here. So it actually goes through the wing right here. So you can't take this part off, even though it is Velcro together, because it is kind of stitched through here, so it adds to a bit of the stability on the block. Now, Warrior did make a change on these, and you can see it right here, where you can see how this block is a bit loosey-goosey when you do this. Now, when you tighten everything up, it's totally fine, and it acts pretty strong. Warrior did what everyone is doing, where they put that, I think it's composite through the face or something. They put something through the face here, where this goes into the face of the pad, so it kind of locks it down and is stronger. As you can see, this is not moving at all and is stronger. I don't love this. I talked about this previously, and I talked about whenever the Bauer pads are. I don't think this is needed. It will work for durability of the pad. This wing won't get flexible over time, but I don't like that because it does get in the way at some desperation plays, but it's not the end of the world. And you can see the inner materials on here with that foam right there, and I'm sure if I really took a look in here, I could see the material. Actually, you can. It's a composite material right here, and that is part of the piece that's going into the pad right here and giving you the stability of it. So you can see it on, I think it's on both sides. Yeah, it is on both sides, so it's on that side and on that side. It's that little black piece right there, and that's going into the pad to give it the stability, and it doesn't move at all, as you can see, where this one definitely does move a lot more. Now, with that said, when I do this and wrap all this back together, you can see it does get a bit stiffer. It does have movements in it, but I never noticed this ever being an issue. And I liked how that design was overall better than what this one is, just because it won't get in the way when you are making those desperation plays. But this is a thing that companies are doing now, so I get it. It's a marketing thing as well, where now they can say, yeah, we have the same thing other companies do, which again, I'm not a fan of, but I understand why it is there, and it is going to make the pad, especially this block, be stiffer over a longer period of time. So it is what it is. The other nice thing about this, and it kind of depends on where you want this to go though, because this is all Velcroable, you can really move it and even add thicker pieces in here. So if you want more kind of padding in here and you want to beef this up, you can add a piece in here, just Velcro it on, and this will sit on top a little bit more. It might not fold over as well, but you will still have more padding there and do what you want. You can also adjust this. So if you want this lower or higher, if you want to bring it down there, you can kind of adjust it so it comes out this way rather than straight across. So I like that that's a thing, and that is basically only because this is all Velcro and you can really change it to how you want to wear it. Now, finally, we get to the top of the pad and Gen Pro is gone. It is a nylon up here, which is a give or take. One, it's gonna be lighter, which I like. Two, this will probably bleed though more than that one will. So sometimes when you have nylons, you can see them bleeding into pants or vice versa. So pants can bleed into this. That's navy, so it's not gonna be an issue. Gen Pro generally doesn't rub off like that. Things will only rub onto it, like you can see some colors on there. Really, it's a weight savings thing, so I don't mind it whatsoever. I would have preferred maybe a piece of Gen Pro kind of coming up here to get that pad overlap. So when you do have that pad overlap, that way the Gen Pro rubs each other instead of nylon and Gen Pro. We'll see how the wear on this will be. It will probably be fine, but it would have just been a nice kind of thing to have. We look at core stiffness, and the Warrior has done a really good job of this recently. You can see it does flex a little bit, but it is a pretty solid stiff core, which helps for pucks kind of going in and durability. This is even stiffer, which I'm a huge fan of, and they stiffen this up, and this is going to be even better for that. So another big fan of that. And finally, one more piece we are going to look at from this angle is that CoverEdge Plus, which is that outer roll. And this is a very hard roll too. So you can see it, push into it and nothing happens. The sides are a bit softer, like you can squeeze into the sides here, but that front of it is really solid, so it doesn't go anywhere. This one was the same idea, softer on the sides, harder on the front. Now, this really helps. I talked about this in the past. CoverEdge really does cut down the angle because the puck's coming down there, it's coming up. Just having it kind of pop out the maximum you can, basically down there, and especially on the boot, means it actually will stop pucks, and it's just math and angles and physics. And actually, I saw a clip recently in the NHL playoffs when a puck hit the very toe of, I think it was Vasilevsky, and if he didn't have, like Bauer has an angled roll, if he didn't have that angled roll, it would have gone in, but he has that angled roll, and it hit it and just came down. Without it, that angle would have been gone, and it would have gone in. So huge fan of that being a thing. They called it out when everyone else went to really tiny designs, and you can see the really tiny design right here. It's really thin on here, so pad overlap works a bit better. But where you need it, which is lower on the pads, like on the boot and on the shin, it's there. So I'm a huge fan of it. So that's about it for this comparison of the G6 Pro and the G7 RTL. Just to talk about this really quick, RTL is like the custom line now. Pro is now the line below. Every other company is doing that. Bauer has their M5 Pros and stuff like that. They just follow the naming convention of everyone else. It's confusing. It sucks. I liked the whatever, just having it like this. This allows them to kind of keep this going forward. So hopefully they keep it going forward and allows them to do their own thing as well as being the same as competition. It's annoying. Everyone's kind of changing their naming to try to get ahead of people. So it is what it is. But the RTL right now is the top line, and this is the top line. That's about it for this video of the G7 RTL and the comparison review in the G6. I have found awesome changes in these. I'm a huge fan of these pads. I'm very excited to use these pads. These are probably going to be one of my most used pads next year. I'm definitely gaming them at least for one team all through, and then the hazardous are going to be another one for sure. So I'm really excited to use these so much. I use these quite a lot in the summer and then stopped kind of in the season. These ones are going to be gamed for sure. I'm really excited about it and really happy to test these out and do a full review on them, which will be coming soon. But I'm really happy with the changes Warrior are making. Warrior has an interesting thing in the past where they were kind of different, and it's almost to a fault. Not that it's a bad thing, but like these straps and stuff, I liked, they worked, but people see them and they want stuff, they're like more used to stuff like this. Like this strapping and this whole design is a lot more familiar to people, and they're gonna try it on and they're gonna be more okay with changing to this pad. So I get why they did that. It also makes it just easier to strap and stuff like that. So don't mind it whatsoever. Huge fan of these, really excited about them. Huge thanks to the person who helped me out with these. So for the announcement that we have, so I have this set of pads and they haven't really been used since I did the comparison on the G6 when I first got the G6. So these are obviously older now, but I need to do something with these pads since I'm not using them anymore. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sell these pads. These are 35 plus 1.5, and the catching glove and the blocker, which they didn't have different versions of, so they just are. So I'm going to sell these, but when I'm going to sell them, everything I get from it is going to go to a donation to a LGBTQ plus group, whether it be for sports or something else. I haven't figured out the exact one yet. I'm looking at like You Can Play type thing, or there's a couple in Toronto that are supposed to be really good organizations for that. So whatever I get out of the sale of these will be a full donation into that organization and charity. I haven't figured out how to sell these yet. I'm not sure if it's going to go the eBay route or if I'm gonna put like a Facebook and social post like on YouTube, Instagram, and every time someone kind of bids on them, the price will go up, and until someone doesn't, I'll give like a few days of that price being set as is. If no one outbids them, then we will just sell as is. Whoever ends up winning that will end up getting the whole set, and I will donate the money that they give me for the set to that charity. So I haven't figured out exactly how that's gonna work yet, but it's gonna happen. So if you're interested in these pads and you want to kind of support a good cause for that, make sure you check out my socials on Instagram as well. I'll put it on the community tab on YouTube, but Instagram would be the best check for that, and as well as Facebook. And we'll kind of go through that. And again, I'll post the links everywhere when it happens, but it's coming. And since this is the G7 video, I figured this would be a good kind of time to announce it. And that's about it for this video. Thank you very much for watching this video. Hopefully it's helpful. Remember, the blocker comparison will be coming out soon. The catching glove comparison will be coming out soon. And then full reviews of these when I can get them on the ice and use them more. So thank you very much for watching this video. Remember to subscribe to me on YouTube. Follow me on Instagram and TikTok. Links are in the description. Remember to like this video. I hate saying that, but I need to, unfortunately. And if you're interested in purchasing hockey equipment so I can keep making more content and doing more reviews and comparison reviews like this, check out the links in the description. If you're in Canada, to Hockey Supremacy. From the US to Pure Hockey. Clicking those links, making a purchase gives me a kickback so I can keep making more content and doing more reviews. Otherwise, if you want to support the channel without buying anything hockey related, check out the links in the description to buy me a coffee. Everything through any of these links always comes back into the channel so I can keep making more content and doing more videos. Thank you very much for watching, and take it easy.
You're watching HockeyReviews.ca.